Hey everyone, welcome back to the English Talk Podcast. I'm Paul.
And I'm Emma.
In today's episode, we're going to talk about something so many English learners struggle with. You understand English, you can watch movies, listen to podcasts, and even read books. But when it's time to speak, your mind goes blank. No words come out, and that's frustrating, right?
Oh, super frustrating. You might be thinking, I know so much English. Why can't I just speak?
Well, don't worry. In this episode, we're going to break it down. We'll explain why this happens and, most importantly, how to fix it so you can start speaking English confidently.
And here's the best part, it's easier than you think. We'll share practical, simple strategies that you can start using today.
And make sure you stay with us until the end, because after our conversation, we'll have a special segment where we break down some of the most useful words, expressions, and phrasal verbs from today's episode.
That's right. We'll explain their meanings, give you real-life examples, and even challenge you to use them.
So, if you're someone who understands English but struggles to speak, this episode is for you. Stay tuned. We're about to change the way you practice English.
All right, so let's get into it. Why does this happen? Why can you understand English but struggle to speak?
Yeah, it's a common problem, but it's actually not about your intelligence or your ability to learn. It's about the way you've been practicing English.
Exactly. So let's break this down into three main reasons.
1. You've been learning passively, not actively. Most English learners spend a lot of time listening and reading, which is great, but listening and reading are passive skills. Speaking, on the other hand, is an active skill.
Yeah, think of it like watching people play soccer versus actually playing soccer. You can watch thousands of matches, but if you never get on the field, you won't be able to play well.
That's a great example. Many learners consume English but don't produce it, and that's why speaking feels so difficult.
So true. If all you do is listen, your brain gets comfortable understanding. But when it's time to speak, it feels like a new, unfamiliar task.
2. Fear of making mistakes.
Ah, this is a big one. Many people don't speak because they're afraid of making mistakes.
Oh yeah, I've met so many learners who say, I don't want to sound stupid, or what if people laugh at me?
Exactly. But here's the truth. Mistakes are a good thing. They help you improve. If you never make mistakes, you're not learning.
100%. Think about kids learning their first language. They make mistakes all the time. They say things like, I go to the park, instead of, I went to the park. But no one says, oh no, you're bad at English.
Haha, right. And the thing is, native speakers don't care if you make mistakes. They care that you're trying.
So if fear is stopping you, remind yourself perfection is not the goal. Communication is.
3. Your brain translates too much.
Oh, this is a big one. Many learners try to translate every sentence in their head before speaking.
Oh, yes. If you think in your native language first, then try to translate to English. Your brain is doing double the work. No wonder it feels slow and difficult.
Exactly. The key is to start thinking in English. And we'll show you how to do that in just a moment. But first, let's quickly review. If you struggle to speak, it's probably because you've been learning passively, not actively. You're afraid of making mistakes. You translate too much instead of thinking in English.
Now that we know the reasons, let's move on to the fun part, how to fix this and start speaking fluently.
All right, now that we understand why speaking feels so difficult, let's talk about how to fix it.
Yes, we've got some simple but powerful strategies that will help you start speaking more naturally and with confidence.
And the best part, you don't need a language partner, expensive classes, or a special environment to start. You can do these things right now, wherever you are.
1. Speak out loud. Every day, even if you're alone. First and probably the most important, you need to start speaking out loud every single day. Even if you have no one to talk to.
Yeah, a lot of learners say, but I have no one to practice with. And my response is, you don't need a partner to practice speaking.
Exactly. You can talk to yourself. Describe what you're doing. I'm making coffee. I'm pouring the milk. It's really hot.
Or practice with something called shadowing. Listen to a podcast or a video and repeat what the speaker says at the same time.
Oh, shadowing is amazing. It helps with pronunciation, speed, and confidence because you're training your mouth and brain to speak without hesitation.
Second, stop translating and start thinking in English. Now, remember we talked about how translating makes speaking slower, The solution is to start thinking in English.
And don't worry, you don't have to do this perfectly from day one. Start with small steps. For example, instead of thinking, I need to buy apples, in your native language first, try saying it in English immediately. A great trick is to use flash thoughts. That means throughout the day, look at things around you and name them in English.
Yes. Like, that's a red car. The sky is cloudy. I feel tired. These little thoughts help train your brain to stay in English mode. And over time, it becomes natural.
3. Use the 1-minute rule.
Oh, I love this one. The 1-minute rule is simple. Set a timer for 1 minute and speak about a random topic without stopping.
Oh, yeah. No pausing, no thinking too much. Just keep speaking, even if you make mistakes.
Exactly. If you don't know a word, just explain it in another way. Like, if you forget the word restaurant, you could say a place where you eat food.
Yes. And if you can do 1 minute, try 2 minutes next time. It's a great way to push yourself.
4. Find a speaking buddy or use AI. If you can find a language partner, that's great. But if not, there are apps where you can practice speaking with AI or chatbots.
Yeah! Apps like ChatGPT or speech-to-text programs can help you practice without feeling shy. And of course, joining online communities, English groups, or even commenting on videos in English is a great way to get real practice.
5. Record yourself and track progress. Another powerful trick is to record yourself speaking.
Oh, yes, this helps so much. You can listen to your pronunciation, check where you need to improve, and also see your progress over time.
And honestly, most people don't like their voice at first, but don't worry about that. It's all part of the process.
So let's quickly review these 5 strategies.
Speak out loud every day, even alone. Stop translating and start thinking in English. Try the 1-minute rule. Use AI or find a speaking partner. Record yourself to track progress. These simple techniques can transform your speaking skills if you practice consistently.
And remember, progress is more important than perfection. Don't worry about small mistakes. Just keep speaking and you'll get better every day.
All right, before we wrap up, we want to leave you with some final advice and motivation. Because let's be honest, learning to speak English takes time and sometimes it can feel frustrating.
Yes! And if you've ever thought, I'll never be fluent, or I'll always be stuck, we're here to tell you that's not true. You can do this.
Absolutely. The key is consistency. You don't have to be perfect today. You just have to practice a little every day.
1. Confidence comes from doing. A lot of people wait to feel confident before they start speaking. But confidence doesn't come first. Action comes first. Confidence comes later.
Yes. Think of anything you've learned. Riding a bike, swimming, driving a car. At first, you were bad at it, but you got better by doing it over and over again. And it's the same with speaking English. The more you do it, the more natural and effortless it will feel.
2. No one cares about your mistakes. Here's a little secret. Nobody cares if you make mistakes.
Yes, native speakers don't sit there thinking, oh, they made a grammar mistake. They're just happy that you're trying.
Exactly. The real goal of speaking isn't perfection, it's communication. If people understand you, you're winning.
3. Enjoy the journey. This is so important. Have fun with it. Learning English shouldn't feel like a punishment.
Oh, yeah. Watch funny videos, listen to music, talk to yourself in the mirror, have weird conversations in English with your dog. Whatever makes it fun for you.
Ha ha ha, yes. The more fun you have, the easier it becomes. So, to everyone listening, if you understand English but struggle to speak, just remember, you're not alone. But you can overcome this.
Start small, be consistent, and speak, speak, speak. That's the only way to improve.
And don't forget, mistakes are part of the process. Keep going, keep practicing, and you'll see progress.
All right, before we wrap up, we know that learning new words, expressions, and phrasal verbs can sometimes feel overwhelming. But don't worry, we've got you covered.
Yes. To help you review everything from today's episode, we've created a free PDF with key vocabulary, phrasal verbs, explanations, and the full transcript of this episode.
It's super useful. You can read along while listening to this episode, take notes, and even practice with the exercises inside.
And the best part, it's completely free. Just check the description below, click the link, and download your copy.
And before we go, don't forget, Right after this, we have a special segment where we break down some of the most useful words and expressions from today's episode.
Yep. Stay tuned because we'll explain their meanings, give you real-life examples, and even challenge you to use them in your own conversations.
All right, that's it from us. Thanks for listening to English Talk Podcast. And as always, keep practicing and keep talking.
See you next time.
All right, let's take a moment to go over some of the most useful words and expressions from today's episode. Understanding these will not only help you follow conversations more easily, but they'll also make your English sound more natural when you speak. Let's dive in. 1. Go blank. Paul said, "When it's time to speak, your mind goes blank." But what does it mean? Imagine you're in an English class and your teacher suddenly asks you a question. You know the answer. You studied it. But for some reason, your brain just stops working. No words come out. That's what it means to go blank, when your mind suddenly forgets everything in a stressful moment. Example, I was about to introduce myself, but I got so nervous that my mind went blank. 2. Wrap up. Emma said, before we wrap up, let's review what we learned today. What does it mean? Imagine you're in a meeting and the speaker says, "Okay, let's wrap up." That means they're ready to finish or conclude the discussion. Example, before we wrap up, let's take one last question from the audience. 3. Speak up. Paul said, "Speak up and don't be afraid of mistakes." This phrase has two meanings: to talk louder so people can hear you, or to express your thoughts confidently. Example, "I can't hear you. Can you speak up?" She finally spoke up about the unfair rules at work. Awesome. You just learned 3 super useful expressions. Go blank, when your mind forgets something suddenly. Wrap up, to finish or conclude something. Speak up, to talk louder or express your thoughts confidently. Now, here's a challenge for you. Try using at least one of these expressions in your next English conversation. You can even leave a comment with your own sentence. Remember, the more you use it, the more natural it becomes. And don't forget, there's a free PDF in the description with even more vocabulary, phrasal verbs, and examples from today's episode. Download it now and keep practicing. All right, that's it for today. See you next time on English Talk Podcast. Keep practicing and keep talking.